Book Chickens! I'm here to do a mid-month wrap-up. I am not sure how many more video books I'll read in the second half of the month, but I did want to kind of tackle this because I could read a lot because I have the next 2 weeks off. So basically heading into the new year. So in November, December so far, I have read 7 books. I have read 2,877 pages. I will say it's a little bit skewed. We'll talk about that. I read 92 pages a day, which is not a lot. My average page count was 411, but there's a couple of big books on here. That's why I read so little. My most read drama is romance. I read 1 book with rep and 3 from authors I read before. I had 2 5 stars, 4 3 stars. Wait, 3 4 stars. And then 2 3 stars, and I had an average rating of 4.0. I read 5 new books and 1 backlist. I read 1 physical, 4 audio, and 2 mixed media. And then let's see, what did it say? I said I started 1 series, I continued in 2, I caught up with 1, and I read 4 standalones, and I read 1 companion. I read 1 ARC, 3 from Audible, 1 owned, and 2 from Everand. I read 1 YA contemporary, 1 contemporary, 2 romance, 1 YA fantasy, 1 fantasy romance, and 1 fantasy. Yeah, and that is all of my stats for the month. And then we're gonna kind of go through the books that I read. So the first book that I read in the month was Make My Wish Come True by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Dietrich. I will attach a photo here. So this was a YA contemporary, and I had a really fun time with this. I gave this book 5 stars. I thought it was really fun. I will say that I kind of said in my holiday romance vlog, it's you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but it was a fun read, and I liked it. It gave me 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Alston, which is also another holiday romance that I have really enjoyed. But you basically follow these 2 characters. They were best friends, and one still lives in the small town. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, or just allergies, I can't tell. But she lives in the small town, and her best friend used to be her best friend. They were on the verge of dating, but then her friend wound up moving to Hollywood to kind of be a starlet, and they kind of lost touch. So the other girl lives in the town. I think her name is Caroline. But her, Arden, I think her name is. I think her name's Arden. I can't remember what her name is. But she winds up really working there, but she kind of is a starlet, but she has a bit of a sketchy past. Kind of think Amanda Bynes, stuff like that, Britney Spears before the shaved head. Just a little bit of questionable life choices and not living the best life and making some bad party decisions. She really wants to get cast in this movie, and she has to kind of convince the director that she's not like that. Her persona is just a lie. So she winds up convincing this director that she has a girlfriend back at home, and she's going to convince a piece to be written about this. And Carolyn, the girl, her former best friend, possible more, is a writer. So she kind of goes back to her town and convinces her best friend to date her and have her write this article. And it was really fun. It really was a fun read. It had a lot of small town charm. It was a sapphic romance, which I think is unique and different. And I had a really fun time, and I gave it 5 stars. It was a fun one. And the next Christmas romance I read was The Merry Matchmakers by Sheila Roberts. I'll attach a photo here. This one was also one that I listened to on Everand. And this is an Emma retelling. You basically follow this main character in this small town, and she's kind of in charge of getting everyone around her together. Is in a matchmaking situation, and she unexpectedly she's oh no, I don't want to date anyone. She's a little bit older, but she winds up possibly having a romance, and it was just a fun read. Was it that memorable? No, definitely more women's fictions, but if you like an Emma retelling, I just didn't like any of the characters. The main character was just a little bit annoying to me, but it was a fun Christmas romance if you like Emma. and I gave that book 3 stars for review. And then I read Broken Harbor by Catherine Cowles. This was a 5-star read. It was in my vlog where I was reading my 200th book of the year, and I had a freaking fun time with this book. It's a single mom hockey star romance. It takes place in Sparrow Falls, and I love this book. I loved seeing all of these characters again. In my next wrap up, I'll talk about a book series that I don't think does that as well, but I just love this book. It was so sweet. I was a single mom. There was a bakery, and it was just a fun time. And I love how Catherine Cowles kind of builds her suspense. This book definitely had darker elements because our main character kind of works at the shop, and she kind of like ran away from her life. Her husband was involved in the mob and had some mob ties and was addicted to drugs. So she got beat up as her son watched and was pretty much like debilitated. So she kind of ran away to kind of get away from the mob life and her ex-husband, and things kind of go from there. But she's kind of working in this bakery, and she kind of meets this hockey star, and things kind of go from there. But oh my God, her boy is so cute. So I love this book. I gave it 5 stars, and I can't wait to see what Catherine is working on in 2025 because I'll definitely be here for it. And then the book that turned out to be my 200th book of the year was The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor. I like this book. I think that this book was paced a little bit weird, and it was structured. We basically follow a main character who this world is a little bit interesting. You can have different writing magic, and if you write, you can kind of travel. And her dad was accused of kind of like burning down these doors. So if she ever writes her name, people are going to know who she is, basically. And she wanted kind of taking someone's place to kind of uncover what happened to her dad, like what led to this. She was going to the school. It's very, very fan-ro romance. It does have a pretty fantasy romance plot. The story was a little bit fragmented, and I don't think it was like as paced correctly as it could, but I did like it. I just don't think it's a 5-star read for me. It was very much a school-based story, like a unique one, and there was a lot of characters, sort of like when I read another book that I read. It's going to be in my notebook, Phantasma. She just was a very, very isolated character. So like feeling that connected to her was a little bit hard because she wasn't letting anyone in. But it is a book coming out in 2025. I did like it. I thought the magic system was really, really cool. And I would definitely give it a shot if you like fantasy, if you like YA books, because I had a fun time with it, and I gave it 4 stars for review. And then I went on to going back to and finishing A House in Sky of Breath by Sarah Jane Maas. I'm going to give this book 4 stars for review. I will attach a photo here. So I started this book in March, and a lot of stuff happened in March. I had some deaths in the family, and it was really, really hard, so I didn't want to going back to it. But I knew I had like 2 hours left in the story, and I wanted to finish it to see if the ending was as like chaotic and crazy as everyone told me, and it was. So I'm putting this as read. I finished reading it. I have to go back and reread all of ACOTAR before I move on to House of Flame and Shadow. That's really, really important. If no one ever told you that, I would read that series before you read this. She has a mass verse, and everything is interconnected. I think even Thorn of Glass is connected, but I haven't noticed those tie-ins quite yet. But I did like it. I thought it was very, very interesting. I don't think it's my favorite series by her, but now I'm intrigued to go back and read ACOTAR, so it definitely did that. So I gave that book 4 stars for review. And then I wound up reading City of Stardust by Georgia Summers, and I really, really did not like this book. I gave this book 2.5 stars. It was so boring, and nothing really, really happened. The only reason I'm keeping it is because I like these sprayed edges. This is the only reason I'm doing it. But basically, this is like a fantasy book where about a character in her past is kind of running from other people, and it just was boring. Like, I don't even really want to talk too much about it because it just was a boring read. It didn't capture me. I felt a little bit bored. It was a fantasy book, but I think it was more like it just didn't have enough pace. Didn't have enough I didn't care about the characters like at all, and there was a lot of characters in the story too. So to have so many characters you were meeting and none of them felt connected, I only gave this book 2.5 stars. I would not recommend at all. And then the last book I finished in this little section was My December Darling by Lauren Asher, which is technically a part of her Lakefront Billionaire series. I think it's part of her like newer series, but here's the photo. And this is a mini Christmas novella, and I had a really fun time. I gave this book 4 stars for review. So I don't want to talk too much about it. It's like a 3-hour audiobook, but it was a fun time. It was like, you know, steamy. It was a second chance, friends to more, brothers, you know, sisters, boyfriends, brothers, romance. And it was a fun time. It had some holiday cheer, and I had a fun time with it. I am also sad to report to say that I did try to do a vlog where I read some fantasy romance, and I was unsuccessful. I wound up DNFing A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jepson. I did not like this book as much, unfortunately. I only got up to page, I got up exactly 50%, and I felt so bored. I will say, I don't really like war stories. They're not a Laura book. So war stories and Vikings and Norse really just didn't work for me. But I did not like the characters at all, and that was really like a downside for me. So that is all the books that I read in this month of December. I am hoping to bang through books in the last half of the month, and just like when I'm on break is just to read a ridiculous amount, which is why I'm going to film a lot today, because that's just me in this exact ensemble. So yeah, that is my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite book of the month. If I had to choose, I would probably say Broken Harbor and Make My Wish Come True. Those are probably my 2 favorites. So those are my 2 5 stars. And I would love to hear your reading in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon for another video. I'll talk to you tomorrow for another video. I just don't know what the video is going to be. Bye.